Hello and welcome to the Patient World. Today we have a special guest, and this is Ms. Allison Bladh. Welcome to the show, Allison.
Oh, thank you so much, Anne, for having me on your podcast. It's a pleasure to be here.
Oh, great. We can't wait to hear what you have to share with us. Let's get started by having you talk about what you do.
Yes, I am a registered nutritional therapist. So I work with nutritional science, really. So evidence-based nutritional science to improve people's health. And what I do is I specialize in women's health, specifically women going through perimenopause, menopause and postmenopause. So the whole menopause transition. Because this can be a very difficult time for some women. And, you really need to, I always say, you really need to look after yourself better at this time in your life. So I specialize using the power of nutrition, mindset, and lifestyle modifications to improve people's health so they can thrive through this time in their lives.
Okay, great. So what specific tips do you want to tell our audience today about how they can thrive and live better, happier lives?
Gosh, that's a big question.
Loaded question.
Yeah. I think the most important thing to do initially is really to explain what menopause is, and I know that there's so many people out there that think that they understand what menopause is, but it's been shown that there's a really quite high percentage of women that we don't truly understand what this is because we don't talk about it enough. So the menopause transition is, there's different phases. The first one is perimenopause, and perimenopause on average starts around the age of 45. And this really is where your hormones start to become unbalanced. Estrogen, progesterone can be all over the place. And what happens then is this can trigger off, your classic menopausal symptoms like the hot flashes, night sweats, problems sleeping, weight gain, itchy skin. I mean, the list goes on. There's over 40 different menopausal symptoms. It's very individual. Every woman experiences it differently. So that's perimenopause. So everything, you're still menstruating and you're still fertile, but everything just gets a bit unbalanced. And the phase after that is your hormone, estrogen, progesterone will gradually decline. And when you haven't had a menstruation for a year, then you're actually in what we call menopause. And, if you think of the word menopause, it's meno, which means menstruation, and pause is pausing, the stopping of. So you no longer menstruate. So you don't have a period every month and you're no longer fertile. And that is menopause. And then all the time after that is what we call postmenopause. So, I mean, that's the rest of a woman's life. And, we're living so much longer now. It can be 30 plus years. So that's really a very brief description of menopause. So what we need to think about, what I work with my clients is, really getting to the root causes of why they're feeling the way that they are. I work with the functional medicine model, which is where you look at the whole body, you look at the whole person. Because, you've got the nutrition piece, you've got the lifestyle piece, you've got the mindset. So there's many different factors that come into play to improve your health during this time. I think one key thing as well is that we have to understand how important estrogen is for the female, and the male. I mean, males have estrogen as well, but the female body, we need estrogen. It really is not just a sex hormone. It's what we call a master hormone. It's so important for our metabolism, our metabolic health. It's important for bone health, heart health. There's some very interesting research coming out at the moment about brain health, dementia risk, etc., due to the decline of estrogen. So it's a key hormone. So it's not so strange when we go through menopause that we can actually feel quite terrible, because it's so important for so many different systems in our bodies. So what can you do? Well, again, it's very individual, but if we look at nutrition, you really want to work on eating whole foods. And what does that mean? That really means removing non-nutritious foods from your diet. So foods that you know, the highly refined, processed, full of sugar, full of damaged fats, because they are detrimental for your health. Unfortunately, we're living in what we call like a toxic food environment, because there is so much of this non-nutritious food everywhere. You know, no matter where you go, there's food that's highly refined, full of sugar. And what happens when we eat these sort of foods is it has many detrimental effects for health. But when we're looking at menopause, you know, it's been shown to trigger off menopausal symptoms, especially hot flashes, you know, weight gain, etc., because it's so high in sugar, and it raises our blood sugar. And when we're talking about blood sugar balance, again, estrogen is needed to help our metabolism, our metabolic health. And when we have lower levels of estrogen, we can't handle so much sugar. We find that we can have a dysregulation in our blood sugar. So, and this can lead to what we call insulin resistance. And this is really where the hormone called insulin, which is our hormone in the body that helps us utilize glucose, which is the energy in when we've eaten sugary foods and carbohydrates, the body doesn't respond to that as it should. So I like to liken it to the lock and key. You know, the key is the insulin, which is the hormone, and the lock on the cell doesn't open with the key anymore, because basically your blood sugar's been high for so long. So this can become a problem, because if left untreated, it can lead to diabetes too. And again, we're more susceptible to this as we get older as women. So eating foods to balance blood sugar, which again means whole food. So if you're eating food that comes in a packet with 10, 20, 30 different ingredients, you're not eating nutritious food. A lot of these foods are, you know, they're damaged, that they're chemical based. Your body can't utilize that nutrition. Whole food, food, when you look at it, you know what it is, like a piece of broccoli, a chicken, a piece of soya. That's how we should eat. I actually, yeah, I actually did a article the other day on how you should eat like your grandmother or grandmothers did, and it was really interesting writing that, because it made me reflect on my grandmother and what she used to eat. And it was some, you know, they didn't have organic foods because nothing was processed and refined and sprayed with pesticides,
Hard to
etc.
imagine that, isn't it? Like these days, you pick up a label and you read it and you can't even pronounce half of the ingredients in there. So yeah, we have definitely laden our foods with a lot of chemicals that our bodies don't need. And certainly over time, with all these things that build up, they definitely have the potential to have some very significant health effects. So absolutely, the whole foods are vital, and we do need to get back to the basics. And everybody wants this is quick, let me do it this way, I can go to the store and pick this up. And there's even evidence that some of the packaging that we get these processed foods in have chemicals that end up in our bodies, and it just goes on and on.
It's so true what you say, and I think we really do have to go back to basics, because you know, you can see that the health of, like, global health has deteriorated so much.
Yes.
You know, one aspect of that is the nutrition and the food that we are eating, definitely, because it's so detrimental to health. But what we need to do is eat whole foods. As menopausal women, we have to take care of ourselves. You know, you can't get away with how you behave when you were 20 or 30. It just doesn't work. I mean, I'm perimenopausal. I've had symptoms. I obviously manage them very well. But if, for example, you know, you're at a party and you have a couple of glasses of wine, you really feel that the next day. So eating whole foods is crucial. limiting alcohol or avoiding alcohol. A lot of the clients that I work with, we all like the odd glass of wine. There's nothing wrong with that, but they've stopped drinking because they say it's just not worth it, because your body actually can't break down and metabolize alcohol like it did when you were younger. And so many women, I think all of my friends and the women in my circle, nobody can, they just say, I can't drink anymore. It just isn't worth it. It affects your sleep. You feel almost hungover after one glass of wine. And it also has been shown in research to trigger off menopausal symptoms, hot flashes, night sweats, anxiety. Alcohol is not the friend of a menopausal woman. So really reducing that is key. And another thing that is very interesting is there's a group of nutrients called phytoestrogens. And these are really plant estrogens, and they have a similar chemical structure to our estrogen in our body. It's not the same, but it's similar. And it's been shown that these can help manage menopausal symptoms, such as, hot flashes, night sweats. They're the more common ones, but women have felt better if they include phytoestrogens in their diet. And a very good source of these are things like flax seeds, beans, nuts, seeds. They all contain, and soya products contain phytoestrogens. One thing I would say about soya, though, if you're going to eat soya products, really try to buy organic, because soya is a nutrient that is highly sprayed and modified as well. So really try to buy a good quality soya, but that is rich in phytoestrogens, and they're really great to help reduce menopausal symptoms, and they're delicious. They're really easy to incorporate into your daily diet. Another area that you really need to look at during menopause is your digestion, so your gut health. Again, estrogen is needed for the integrity of the gut. And we see when the levels decline that, you can start getting constipation. Irritable bowel syndrome increases in women as we get older. And it also affects the gut bacteria. So the microbiome in the gut is affected by the decline in estrogen. And it's fascinating. There's actually a group of gut bacteria called estebolome. And they found that this particular group of gut bacteria is needed for the metabolism and the modulation of estrogen. So we really need our gut bugs. And how do we keep them happy? We need to eat fermented foods. So what we call probiotics, things like sauerkraut, kimchi, kefir, all sorts of fermented vegetables, because they have the wonderful gut bugs that our digestive tract likes. I try to eat at least a tablespoon of kimchi every day, because it can be quite hard to incorporate that into your diet if you're not used to eating those sorts of foods. So really, it's really finding what you like and trying to just eat a little bit of that every day to look after your gut bacteria. So that the gut health is key, because really, your digestion, your gut health is so we see that if you haven't got good digestion, you can't absorb the nutrients that you need, so you may become deficient. So it's all kind of a knock-on effect. So looking after the gut is very important.
They talk a lot about how the gut, we talk about how the brain is so important to how things function, but they're also talking about how the gut is the center as well, because just imagine if you get anxious, you don't necessarily feel it in your head, you feel it in your gut. Just how you absorb foods. All of those things are so vital and so important. And a lot of information and emphasis is now being placed on gut health. And so all those tips are extremely important, because we used to not pay that much attention, to this, but now it's obvious. The gut needs more attention. The gut needs to be respected, so to speak. And there are so many organisms that break down the foods, and the gut lining is important, but the gut is the key to so many things.
Yes, it really is. I mean, that when I work with clients, that's really what we focus on first, because it just, once you get the gut working efficiently, it just as you said, Anne, it affects every part of the body and brain health as well. You feel so much better if your gut's working as it should. So yeah, absolutely, that's a really key area, and it can be affected by the hormone decline in menopause. Another key thing that we don't as women eat enough of, but we certainly need more of it when we come into when we age as women, is protein. We don't actually eat enough protein, and you really should be aiming for around a palm size of protein with every meal, because protein is the building blocks of the body. And as we get older, we lose muscle mass, and we also have a decline in our bone health. So, and we're more at risk of suffering from osteoporosis. So really eating protein is important for everything, but it's really important for menopausal women, because keeping our muscles strong and healthy is key for our metabolic health and for our overall health. And protein sources, things like meat, poultry, fish. If you're vegetarian, you want to be looking at beans, nuts, seeds, soya products. So there's lots of wonderful healthy proteins, but it's something that we don't eat enough of it generally in society. So it's key. And it's also interesting with protein, if you do eat enough protein, you're more satisfied. So it's actually key in weight management, because you can't, when you think about protein, you can't actually eat a lot of protein. You become full quite quickly with protein, and it really helps with blood sugar balance as well, so you don't get those cravings. So protein is really a key element in when we're looking at a balanced plate. You really want to have a palm size of protein on every meal. And then healthy fats. And I know that the era that I grew up in, fat was like a swear word. Like nobody ate fat. It was taken out of all foods, and sugar replaced that. The high carbohydrate foods that we still see now, but we have understood that we need fat. We need we need healthy fats. There's differences in the sort of fats. There's nothing wrong with healthy fat. We want to be avoiding the damaged fat, the highly refined seed oils, because they're damaged oils, and our body doesn't know what to do with them, and it can cause inflammation in the system. Healthy fats with every meal, things like avocados, olive oil, nuts and seeds, butter, coconut oil, ghee, all those lovely healthy fats, because fats really are what we need to make hormones. We need fat to make cholesterol, and cholesterol is something that we need in our body. It's a crucial element of our health. I know cholesterol's another huge topic, isn't it? That you could do a whole podcast on that.
But can't do without it. So if it's the wrong cholesterol in excess, yes, but your body needs it to manufacture some important components.
Yeah. So really looking at fats and trying to incorporate healthy fats into every meal as well, roughly around a tablespoon of fat with every meal. But again, that helps with blood sugar balance. You become very satisfied when you eat fat, and it's also delicious to have these wonderful fats incorporated into your diet. When we look at research, the diet that always comes up top is the Mediterranean style diet.
Yes.
And this incorporates all your wonderful healthy fats, your proteins, your nuts and seeds, vegetables, very, very little sugar, no refined foods. So that style of diet of eating for menopausal women has been shown to be very beneficial. And it's not restriction. I'm certainly not into restriction when we talk about nutrition. It's just choosing to eat nutritious foods and choosing not to eat the foods that don't nourish and nurture your body. So Mediterranean style diet is crucial. And then things like portion control. Unfortunately, as we get older as women, we can, not all women, but we do tend to gain fat around the abdomen area. We go from what we call like a pear shape to an apple. And this can be due to the hormone changes in our bodies as we get older, the decline in estrogen. Testosterone can become slightly more dominant in this time because of the decline in estrogen. And we get this area around the stomach that we never had before. So we really have to think that we can't quite eat as much as we did when we were younger. So I think if you're eating nutritious, delicious foods, you don't need to have a huge amount. You fill your plate, but really be mindful of how much you eat, because it's very easy, isn't it, to just go back and have seconds before you've actually really thought about, do I need to eat anymore?
Absolutely. A lot of us have that problem.
Yeah, because food's delicious, isn't it?
Very satisfying.
Yeah. They say that when you've eaten a meal, it takes around 20 minutes, before that actually hits your system and you release. There's a hormone called leptin, which is the hormone that tells us, okay, you've eaten enough now, we're satisfied, you can stop eating. But it takes a while for that signaling to happen. So rather than going back for seconds immediately, if you wait 20 minutes and let the food digest in your system, then you do normally feel satisfied. So I think it's just being a bit patient, not rushing back straight away to get seconds. So looking at another aspect of nutrition, and I know this is quite a basic thing, but we need to drink water. And it's something that I say to all my clients, but do we drink enough water? We all know that we need to drink water, but we don't do it. We're all busy, you forget, but that is so crucial. And it's so crucial for health in general, but it's really important for menopausal women, because we really need to just keep our system hydrated for gut health, for brain health. It's difficult to say exactly how much water you need to drink, because it's all dependent on how active you are. I mean, if you're doing a lot of physical exercise, you would need more water, but on a rough average amount is 8 to 8 glasses of water a day. So that's roughly about 2 liters of water a day. And also think about the sort of things that you're drinking. When I'm talking about water, I'm talking about like water, not things, like with sugary drinks, energy drinks, fizzy drinks, high in sugar, and just shoot your blood sugar up. So really finding ways to drink water. You can have little bits of fruit. It's quite nice to have, if you've got like frozen strawberries in the freezer, you can make water quite nice. It doesn't just have to be plain water.
Cucumber water, lemon water, all sorts of things you can do, because water is bland. But certainly if you add, you spruce it up a little bit, you can really, it's really worthwhile. So you're saying on average 8-ounce glasses of water a day is the average.
Yeah. Unless you're very physically active and you're perspiring a lot, then you would need more. So water is key. So really, I think just focusing, what I say to some people is to have a jug in the fridge with, a full jug. And then you can see throughout the day how much you've drunk, because it's quite easy to forget, isn't it? You maybe have a glass there and you think, oh, have I drunk 2 or 3? If you have a jug in the fridge, you can just drink that, and then you think, well, I've actually drunk that all today. So that, it's nice to see how much you've actually drunk.
I recently started doing that. That's very helpful, because I want I need to have 2 during the day. So when I fill it up and then I'm done midway through the day and I fill it up again, and I know by the end of the day, if I've had that as well, then I've met my goal. So certainly, we are very busy people. So if you know exactly what you want to get in a day, then it certainly makes it a whole lot easier to actually do it.
Yeah. So that's nutrition. I mean, there's many things that I could talk for hours about nutrition, but and then when you look at that's the nutrition piece, but you've also got the lifestyle piece, and the key thing for menopausal health is stress management. It's so important for us to look after ourselves and really accepting that you're in this phase in your life and you need to take more care of yourself, because it feels like in society we're all stressed. Everyone seems to be chronically stressed, and it is so detrimental for health, so detrimental. And again, it triggers off menopausal symptoms. When we're constantly stressed and we produce stress hormones, one in particular cortisol, this raises blood sugar. It is very hard to lose and manage weight if you're constantly stressed, because cortisol, the stress hormone, actually is a fat storing hormone. So when I work with clients for weight management, stress management is actually one of the first things that we work on, because no matter how good your diet is, if you're constantly stressed, it's actually very difficult to lose weight. Stress management is a huge area. And I think the most important thing to think about with that is to find something that works for you, because the majority of ladies that I work with are already quite stressed, already overwhelmed. And the last thing they need is me saying to them, okay, I want you to go and do an hour's yoga a day. I want you to meditate 30 minutes every morning. They just won't do it. It's just not possible. So really finding little things throughout the day that you can do. 5 minutes of your day. One brilliant thing that I find that works for me and for many other people is breathing. Just something as simple as breathing exercises. Deep breathing is so beneficial.
And it
Because
does
it's
help.
actually,
I agree.
yeah, it's so difficult, or it's virtually impossible to be stressed when you're deep breathing, because it sends signals to your brain that everything is okay. It really is a great tool to have in your toolkit to reduce stress, because you can do it when you're sat at your desk. It's very easy to do without anyone knowing that you're doing it.
Mm-hmm.
And there are many different techniques of breathing, but just really breathing in and out slowly is enough to calm you down. And then doing things 5 minutes a day, something as simple as just going and sitting somewhere, looking out of the window and drinking a cup of tea or a cup of coffee or whatever your preferred drink is, and just relaxing and switching off. We're constantly stimulated by all the technology that we have around us, and it is so important to step back from that. And I've really seen that in myself, because I try to practice what I preach. And on Sundays, every Sunday I have a day where I turn my phone off. I don't do any work. I turn my computer off and really just spend time with family and friends out in nature. And I can't say to you how reviving that is. It really is. I think it's so important to switch off.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you can't do it for a whole day, start with an hour, start with half an hour, because stress management is key for your long-term health. And if you don't learn to manage stress, then you will eventually have to, because it will be so detrimental for your health. So stress management is really key. Another area that is so important for menopausal health is sleep. We're really starting to understand how important sleep is for us. And I know, again, when I was growing up, it was kind of more of a sign of being fantastic if you only needed 5 hours sleep. You were a hero. Whereas now, you know, health wise, we really understand that sleep is just number one for health. And this can be an area for menopausal women that can be very difficult to manage, because if we're not sleeping, it just has a knock-on effect on every aspect of our life, from weight management to stress management to hunger. You know, if you haven't been sleeping, your body will crave carbohydrates, and it wants those quick release sugary refined carbohydrates. It actually increases our hunger hormones when we're tired, so it has a knock-on effect of detrimental aspects on your health. And what can we do for sleep? Again, you really have to look at what do I do 2 hours before I go to bed? Am I, on my phone? Am I watching television that's stimulating me? Am I doing stressful things? Am I going to the gym? Because all those things will stimulate you and stimulate your brain, and they can make it hard for you to fall asleep, because there's a sleep hormone called melatonin, and this hormone is what we need. It tells us, okay, now it's bedtime, now we need to sleep. And if you're doing all these stimulating things and you have this light, this constant bright light in your eyes, you won't produce this hormone. Again, it's not easy. I'm not saying it's easy to suddenly change everything, but just try implementing small changes, like an hour before you go to bed, do something calming, sit and read a book, chat with your family, have a bath. A wonderful thing to do is have a bath with Epsom salts. They're very high in magnesium, and magnesium is, I just love magnesium. It's certainly the friend of a menopausal woman, and we see that people in general we're deficient in magnesium, because magnesium is needed for so many bodily chemical processes in the body. And what Epsom salts do is that they're high in magnesium, and when we bathe in them, our body can actually absorb them through the skin, and magnesium is so calming. So it's a wonderful thing to do before you go to bed. Really very nice. If you have the opportunity, if you've got a bath at home, that's a really good thing to do.
It's an excellent tip. I've noticed when I'm at some of the health food stores, some of the calming medicine is just magnesium. And
Yeah.
so if you can take a bath with Epsom salt and have it absorbed, then that certainly can explain why you get that calming effect. That's excellent information to have.
I love it. Magnesium glycinate in particular as a supplement is very calming, very good to take before you go to bed, because it really has that. There's many different forms of magnesium, but magnesium glycinate is the one that has this calming effect. And I know with clients that I work with have had real problems with sleep. They find that very beneficial, just to take an hour before bedtime.
That is significant for many reasons, but one reason being that I recently had a guest on who talked about the research showing that some of the sleeping aids, ladies who take them regularly, have a higher risk of developing dementia. And so if one can gradually get off of the sleeping aids with the assistance of their physician and not just stop cold turkey if they've been on it for a while, that could potentially impact their future risk of having something significant. So knowing about the magnesium and these other tips to help one sleep, those tips could actually help a lot of people get off of medicinal remedies to help them sleep and have a profound impact on their lives.
Yeah, I think sleep for me, when I work with clients, is something, it's very high up on the list to get right, because if someone starts to sleep better, they feel better in general in every aspect of their life. And I'm not a physician, but recommend to my clients that if they're really suffering from a lot of these menopausal symptoms would be to go to a physician, a doctor, and discuss, it's not for everybody, but discuss hormone replacement therapy, because that is, you know, I was saying you've got all these parts, you've got the nutrition, the lifestyle, the mindset, you know, that part also comes in, because hormone replacement therapy, even though it's quite a controversial subject, you know, it has been shown to improve sleep for some women. And like I say, it's so important that these women get help. And that may be just the piece missing if it is something that is suitable for you. Knowledge is power, isn't it, really? I think, you know, you can decide yourself, but once you've got all the information in front of you, you then can make an informed decision of what you want to do.
It's what's important for people to get information, and then they can see what does and doesn't work for them. And for instance, for me, my favorite lunch is shelled edamame smothered with extra virgin olive oil and a little bit of salt on the top. So that's
delicious. Gosh.
For me. When I finish talking to you, I'm going to go and get some. But
wow.
you know, just knowing what your options are, because once you're well informed, you can make better choices. But when you don't know, you don't understand what's going on, you don't know the safe things to do to improve the quality of your life, you're kind of just out there trying to figure out what to do. So you're right. Knowledge is power. And it's amusing that on the other side of the world from us in America, I'm in the US, people say the same thing, but it is a universal fact. Knowledge is power.
Yeah, absolutely. And I don't know what it's like in the US, Anne, at the moment, but in Europe, there's a menopausal revolution going on. You know, women, it started with a few celebrities doing documentaries on television, and this just triggered off this kind of, women were like, we haven't been getting help. Nobody's been talking about menopause. This, enough is enough. And it's fantastic, because all of a sudden, you know, authorities and everyone have had to take notice.
Yes.
So women and menopause has really started to come to the forefront, and all the information about hormone replacement therapy, nutrition in the workplace, they're putting in policies to help women going through perimenopause and menopause.
That's incredible.
Yeah, so it's fantastic. I mean, there's a long way to go, but it's starting to happen. And I think I saw an article in the New York Times. There was something in the US that I saw, great, it's starting now in the US, because this was also on the same subject, that why don't we talk about this more? These women need help. So it's really positive that this is happening.
Well, you have given some tremendous information to the viewers today. Is there anything else you'd like to share?
Yes, I just would like to say that just ask for help, because this is a natural transition. I think when we think of the menopause, it still has this slight negative thing attached, that's negative aura attached to it. And just think of it as a total natural process, but suffering isn't. You know, this is just a phase in a woman's life that is totally natural. But if you're suffering and really struggling, reach out and ask for help, because you really don't need to suffer. There are so many things and so much help out there. And I think I just breaks my heart to think of so many women not talking about how they're feeling, and not getting the support and the help that they need during this time. Because we only have one life, don't we? And when we become older, and you have that go into post menopause, and hopefully will live, you know, 30 plus years, you should be thriving and enjoying yourself. And, you know, older women, we're so much wiser and fabulous, and it should be a time in your life where you should be having a ball.
So again, thank you so very much for all of your invaluable information. How would you want viewers to reach you?
I think the best way to contact me is through my website. On my website, there's all information. So I'm on all social media. There's also a resources page there, which you can download. There's lots of ebooks on different menopausal conditions with nutritional advice and recipes and meal plans, etc. My website is AllisonBladh.com. So that's Allison and Bladh is BLADH.com. So, and if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to email me. I'm more than happy to answer.
It sounds great. And at the end of this interview, I'm going to post this information as well so people know exactly how to reach you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you so much. You have a blessed day. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.